Welcome to SWIRL AI Search, the podcast that dives deep into the world of enterprise AI search. Discover how to unlock the value hidden within your internal data and accelerate your journey to actionable insights. Let's cut through the noise and find out how you can get the most out of your internal information. As befitting a podcast about AI, this episode was created with the help of Notebook LM. Please enjoy the Swirl AI Search podcast.
It seems like everyone's talking about AI these days, right?
Yeah.
And for good reason. I mean, it really could be like having almost like a superpowered assistant, you know? One that can answer any question you can think up and write your emails and like analyze mountains of data, crazy amounts of information like in seconds. Pretty amazing stuff. But there's a catch.
Yeah.
There is.
Security risk.
Security risk that a lot of companies, especially like smaller businesses and medium-sized businesses, might not even realize is even there.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to deep dive into today. This is all based on an article called AI, See AI Say, Stop Your AI from Leaking Data. So that's the one. And the big issue it really boils down to is data leaks. So let's unpack this a bit. The article mentions this idea of an illusion of context when it comes to AI. Can you help break that down for us a little? Well, think of it this way. AI is really good at like mimicking conversations with humans, right? It can like follow your prompts and understand your questions and even respond in a way that feels really natural, like you're actually talking to someone.
Right.
But the thing is, it doesn't really understand like the nuances of the information that it's actually working with.
So it's almost like a parrot that can repeat phrases, but it doesn't actually get the meaning behind them.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. It can like process and repeat information, but it doesn't have that deeper understanding that we do,
Right.
as humans, about things like ethics and confidentiality and the potential consequences of like, blurring out certain information.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it seems like something that a lot of businesses are doing to make their AI work better is actually making this problem a whole lot worse. I'm talking about putting all their data, like all of it in one place so the AI can easily access it.
Right, and you would think that would make things easier, but
It seems logical.
it actually creates a really big vulnerability.
Huge vulnerability.
Because think about it like this. It's like keeping all your valuable possessions in like one giant vault.
Yes.
If somebody figures out how to break into that vault, they suddenly have access to everything, right? It's the same thing with data. When you have multiple copies of, really sensitive data in one central spot, and you don't have like super tight control over who can see what,
Yeah.
what just makes it that much easier for leaks to happen, whether it's accidental or, somebody's trying to do it on purpose.
And the article gave a couple of examples that I thought were really interesting just to highlight how real this threat is. One example was an employee who actually used AI to get their hands on confidential information about upcoming layoffs at the company.
Oh, wow.
And in another case, somebody actually hacked into an AI system to steal product secrets.
That's scary.
Yeah, and what I think is especially concerning is that these weren't like super sophisticated attacks by, master hackers or anything. Like,
Yeah.
these were pretty everyday scenarios that just about anyone could pull off.
Uh,
It really kind of shows how vulnerable a lot of systems are, even to people who aren't, tech wizards or anything like that.
Yeah, it really does. And I think what it highlights is that we really need to fundamentally change the way we think about data security, especially when it comes to using AI.
Absolutely. And that leads us to the solution that the article proposed, which is called SWIRL.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like this is a totally different approach than what a lot of companies are doing now with that whole, centralizing data thing.
Yeah. Swirl basically flips the script. Instead of, bringing all the data to the AI, it brings the AI to the data.
Okay.
And it does all of this within the company's own secure environment.
Interesting. So like you can go and access all these different files and databases, but only the ones that it's actually allowed to see.
Exactly. And that way, all that sensitive information stays protected.
That's a really interesting idea, and I
Mhm.
definitely want to learn more about how it works. So instead of having like this one big juicy target for hackers to go after, Swirl kind of spreads things out a bit.
Right.
Makes it much harder to, get to all the good stuff. And that has to be like a huge relief for any business owner who's, worried about data security.
Oh, absolutely. And another great thing about Swirl is you don't have to like completely revamp your whole security system to use it.
Well, that's good.
It actually works with your existing setup, whatever you already have in place, so it's a lot easier to manage, especially for businesses that maybe don't have like a whole dedicated cybersecurity team.
Makes sense. Yeah. But, thinking about my own company, we've got data like scattered everywhere. Emails and project management software and all these different platforms.
Right, right.
So does Swirl like work with all of that? Or do we have to bring everything together into one place to make it work?
Actually, that's one of the things that makes Swirl so powerful. It can handle all those different sources of data without you having to consolidate everything into one massive data lake, which could actually make you more vulnerable.
Right.
So the AI can access the information it needs directly from each source. But the really important thing is it can only see the stuff that each user is authorized to see.
Oh, I see.
So it's kind of like, giving the AI keys to specific rooms in a building instead of just handing over the master key to the whole place.
That's a great analogy.
And that level of control, that's how Swirl really minimizes the risk of data leaks, whether they're accidental or intentional.
I mean, this all sounds pretty amazing. I have to ask, though, is there a downside? It seems almost too good to be true.
Well, one thing to keep in mind is that Swirl gives you a lot of flexibility when it comes to choosing your AI systems. So you're not stuck with one specific provider, which is great for maintaining control over your data and making sure you're following all the industry regulations.
So you can pick and choose the AI tools that really fit your specific needs and your ethical standards, too.
Exactly. And that's a really important point, especially for businesses and industries with, really strict data privacy rules.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess the main takeaway here is that when it comes to AI, it's not just about like the cool technology and all the amazing things it can do.
Yeah.
It's also about using it responsibly and making sure you're protecting your data every step of the way.
You got it. And I think that's something that a lot of businesses kind of get swept up in, the excitement of all the possibilities, and they don't always stop to think about the risks.
That's true.
But data security should be like the number one priority, especially for small and medium-sized businesses that maybe, don't have the resources to bounce back if something really bad happens.
That's a great point. I
Yeah.
mean, data is like the lifeblood of any company these days.
It really is.
So protecting it has to be top of mind. And it sounds like Swirl offers a really solid way to do that.
It does, but regardless of, what specific tools or systems you decide to use, the key is to always have that security first mindset when you're thinking about bringing AI into your business.
So I guess the big takeaway here is that AI has this huge potential, but it also comes with the responsibility to make sure you're protecting your data.
Right. And I think as more and more businesses start using these tools, especially smaller companies, they really need to remember to ask not just like, what can this AI do for me, but also, how can I use it safely? How can I make sure my data is protected?
It sounds like security really needs to be like the top priority right from the get-go.
Absolutely. I mean, the technology is amazing and it's evolving so fast, but it's up to us, the people using it, to make sure we're not putting our data at risk just because we're so excited about all the possibilities.
And it sounds like systems like Swirl are a good example of how you can have both, the power of AI and the security that businesses need.
Yeah, Swirl is definitely a step in the right direction. It shows that it is possible to have both. And I think whether you're a small startup or a giant corporation, that balance, between innovation and protection is going to be the key to succeeding in this new world of AI.
Well said. And that brings us to a question for everyone listening. If you're already using AI in your business, how confident are you that your data is truly secure? What steps are you taking to make sure your AI isn't accidentally leaking sensitive information? It's definitely something to think about as you're navigating this exciting but sometimes, kind of confusing world of artificial intelligence.